someone might say, okay, there goes the media again looking at this one thing on the building. Is it really that big a deal? And I think it's a fair point that the name on that building doesn't necessarily affect people's lives. But there are other acts that are of a piece with this which do. We're now learning that when judges were ruling against Trump's deportation agenda during those clashes last spring, the White House considered suspending habeas corpus itself, the longstanding right enshrined in the Constitution that protects you from a government just seizing you without rights. You might recall Lincoln suspended habeas corpus during the Civil War. We don't have anything like
Somebody
that these days.
finally fucking says so.
Wanted the DOJ to look at whether they could get away with this. This is bombshell reporting from New York Times reporters that have been working on a larger.
I've been talking about this Lincoln thing my whole fucking life. My whole life I've been talking about this Lincoln thing, and finally people are waking up. Like, I used to say this shit about Lincoln 25 years ago, and people would be like, "What? You're saying something mean about Lincoln? Oh my god!" And it's like, yeah, 25 years ago, I've been saying something bad about Lincoln. Lincoln wasn't perfect either, but he died. He got shot in the head. Yeah, Lincoln also did bad stuff. Let's not lie about who Abraham Lincoln was. I'm so sick and tired of these lies and these mythologies that people, Honest Abe, never told a lie. Dude, that's a children's story. That's a children's story. When you go down to Mexico, down in Tijuana, they got this huge statue of Abraham Lincoln. It's a massive statue of Abraham Lincoln. He has broken chains. He's like this. And it's Abraham Lincoln with broken chains. It's great. Yeah, he freed the slaves. Sort of. But whatever, man. Like, he suspended habeas corpus. It was an act of tyranny, and then he got shot for it. Sic semper tyrannis. Now, no one talked about it until Donald Trump came around. I was the only one who ever said shit like that. Me and like American Indians were the only people who ever talked about this shit.
Forthcoming book. Habeas corpus is kind of the be-all, end-all, because if the government can just snatch you up and you don't have any rights to protest or question how you're being held, well, then they could do that to anyone, right?
Hit that like button, double tap the screen, baby doll.
They can do that to judges or journalists or political opponents, and everything else kind of falls apart. And this is fundamental. Constitution does have, of course, a type of suspension for exigent national security circumstances, which it refers to as rebellion or invasion. You can think of that as existential war. Times columnist Jamel Bowie points out that at the time, we know habeas corpus has been such a bedrock part of the American legal tradition that its suspension during the Civil War, an actual rebellion, was hugely controversial even then. Now, we all often talk about, as Rachel says, watching what they do, not just what they say. This happens to be a time where we had to worry about both.
The Constitution is clear, and that, of course, is the supreme law of the land, that the privilege of the writ of habeas corpus can be suspended in a time of invasion. So that's an option.
I remember when he said that. You could just call it an invasion. Is this an invasion?
We're actively looking at.
Do you remember when Donald Trump said it was an invasion over and over again? It's an invasion. The Venezuelans, they're invading. It's habeas corpus. Remember, he didn't know what habeas corpus was. Remember when they asked him, "Are you suspending habeas corpus?" And he's like, "Well, we're gonna look at it." He said, "Who?" He said, "Who? Are you gonna suspend habeas corpus?" He said, "Who? Habeas corpus? Are you gonna suspend it?" We're looking at it. I'm not against. I'm not. Haven't decided yet. Remember that? Because he didn't know what the fuck habeas corpus was. Remember? And I had a lawyer come on my show and explain to everybody what habeas corpus was, so you didn't have to take it from me. Remember that? Remember when I did that?
Miller publicly proclaiming that they were looking at that option. Others inside the administration were alarmed. They viewed this as a sure loser that the courts would stop or interfere with, and something they just shouldn't do. Like, this is a bad thing. The White House says officials look at
just so you know, it's a call-in show.
many different lawful options to implement the president's agenda, with Trump being the decider. That was sort of their response. I mentioned that we see this lawlessness on matters both small and petty, as well as extremely significant. Your view at sort of this autocratic era that we are in, and how Americans should understand what is this.
He wasn't racist, but they made him racist. I love it when you guys say stuff like that. I wasn't racist until, okay. Then you're fucking racist. I wasn't racist until. I wasn't racist until I saw a black man run a red light. Then I became a racist. Well, I saw a white person run a red light last week. Yeah, but black people have no respect for our laws. I just saw a white person run a red light. That's rare. That's rare. Black people run red lights all the time. You've only seen one black person run a red light. What do you mean? I'm racist now because I saw a black man run a red light. Think of the logic thing. That's how the MAGA brain works, right? You're racist because you saw a black man do something bad. But you weren't racist before. That just shows that you were always a racist. You realize that means that you were always a racist.
bombshell reporting that they were really looking at suspending this right and may yet try to.
I think one should look at this as really demonstrating the administration's absolute total contempt for basic and fundamental constitutional rights. The habeas corpus, due process, these things are, as the clip from John Adams, I think, suggests, are elemental to the Anglo-American political tradition, legal tradition, to put it in fancy terms. Like, they're really at the foundation of everything. As you said, if the government can snatch you and not have to explain anything, that's kind of game over for your political rights, for your legal rights, for everything. And so the fact that the administration was contemplating this is genuinely quite disturbing and is a sign of how little regard the White House has for the Constitution. I'll note real quick that in that clip you played of Stephen Miller, he referred to your privileges under the Constitution. Your privileges. No, those are not privileges. Those are rights, fundamental, inviolable.
Yeah, and something that, lawyers.
That's right. Fundamental rights, because that's the baseline of any free society is habeas corpus. The fucking baseline. That's the lowest bar. And they're talking about suspending it, like Abraham Lincoln did during the Civil War.
And perhaps intellectuals think about maybe more than people going.
And by the way, it was not a good enough reason. Having a civil war was still not a good enough reason.
About day to day is you have a rule, you look at the exception to the rule. You have a safeguard, you look at what it protects. And in this instance, they were discussing whether they could suspend this right for what they viewed as unauthorized immigrants or people.
I love this. I say, do you want Donald Trump on the dollar bill or in dollar? And this guy goes, what about Biden? Biden never fucking tried to put his face on money. Biden didn't put his face on passports. Biden didn't put his face on the National Parks Pass. Biden didn't put his face on the Department of Justice building. Biden didn't put his face on anything. I don't remember Biden's face at all. I forgot what Biden looks like. It looks something like this. That's it. What does Donald Trump look like? Donald Trump, because he's sleeping all fucking day. He fell asleep at the UFC fight, for God's sake.
Who are here without their papers or documentation. But of course, if you can say that this person is X, say undocumented, and then hold them without any legal process, then there is no legal process to protect an American who is not even of that category, or a political opponent. Or you could imagine a doomsday. If you say, yeah, the critics, journalists, or a judge, you say it's a really close Supreme Court case, you can hold one of the judges and say, well, we declare them disappeared. It sounds very Orwellian or extreme, but is that not what this type of...
Call in, Adams Auto. Have a conversation with me if you're confused. I'll be happy to have a conversation with you. A perfectly nice, friendly conversation. Call in.
Abuse allows.
That's absolutely right, especially when you consider how difficult it can be to prove your status. We have many, many stories right now, right, of people being snatched up by ICE for Customs and Border Protection and having documents that say that they are an American citizen or they have legal status, and that not really meaning anything. And so a world where not only can you be snatched up and then you have no legal process for proving who you are, but then even if you have documents, that's no guarantee of proving who you are. It just makes everyone's citizenship fundamentally provisional and subject to the whims of whomever happens to be in power.
Bingo! Everyone's citizenship is provisional and is subject to the whims of those in power. There you go. I've been saying that for a long time. And now finally people are saying it out loud on mainstream media. I'm glad that people are starting to bring it up. It's about time. You welcome one and all. As soon as they can control your movement, as soon as they get to decide who gets a passport, as soon as they get to decide that you have to show ID everywhere you go, and they're going to videotape you everywhere you go. What freedoms do you have again? What freedoms do you have left? Oh, you can pick what flavor of bagel you can have. That's freedom in America. You can go to Walmart and you can get anything you want. Just like those guys, you can go to Walmart, get whatever you want. That's freedom.
Holds their authority.